what's crazy to me is here we are. I don't even know how many years ago Bigger, Stronger, Faster was, over a decade, maybe like 15 years at this point now. And it's still, in my opinion, like the best, documentary on all this stuff. Is it, I mean, I know not Enhanced Athlete, Generation Iron with Enhanced Athlete, they did some pretty controversial shit, but it still wasn't as revolutionary as Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Do you think it's because it was kind of the first, or it's just there hasn't really been anything quite up to par, quite up to that level, or both?
I think Bigger, Stronger, Faster was a family story. And also, my brother was like, trying to get other people to talk about it. And no one really talked about it. There wasn't really, the only people that would talk about it were people that just didn't have much to lose. It was people that weren't, already like famous or wealthy. It was, me and my brother talked about it, but like we didn't have, the only thing we had to, well, there's always a lot to lose. It's illegal, and at that time I didn't have like prescription for it and stuff like that. So there's some dangers to it, but as far as we understood and the information that we had at the time was like, hey man, let it rip. It's a movie, and that's what we'll be able to say if anything happens. And we're like, all right, well, I'll trust you lawyers and, we'll see what happens here. But I think what made Bigger, Stronger, Faster unique is that my brother was trying to get to the bottom of almost more like the reason why people use performance enhancing drugs rather than bashing performance enhancing drugs. It was more like, hey, let's just see what's up with this. Oh, okay. Everybody wants to be number one, and some people don't really mind the cost of it, whereas these other people over here really do. And then what I grew up in, powerlifting, steroids were never looked down upon, ever. They would be looked down upon in a sense that if you competed in a drug tested federation and you were on shit, then we were like, what's this guy? It's like, come on, dude, this guy's a monster. Like, what is he doing in this federation? This is ridiculous. So we would look down on it, on things like that. But from the time I was young, going to local gyms and stuff, I'd hear guys talking about stuff, and it wasn't like they were whispering, and it wasn't like this weird thing. They were like, oh yeah, I've been like running some, someone's like, dude, that was a sick deadlift. And somebody's like, yeah, I've been running some Dianabol the last couple of weeks. And somebody else is like, really? How much are you taking? I'm like, I take 50 milligrams a day. I've been doing it for the last, 3 weeks. And the other guys will be like, where'd you get it from? And so just like really just open, just kind of like letting it go. And it's part of strength sports, strongman athletes, powerlifters, bodybuilders. I think the thing that's impressive, I don't follow bodybuilding, so I don't really know what's going on with bodybuilding, but in powerlifting, there's a lot of guys that are executing really, really well and doing just fine without taking anything. And that fascinates me. And maybe they're, I can't foresee a scenario where they're all lying. I know everyone's like, oh, but that guy's on tons of shit. Everyone always just kind of says that, dismisses it. But a lot of these guys have been and girls have been competing in drug tested federations for a long time. And I'm not buying that they're all, on shit. So anyway, yeah, I think Bigger, Stronger, Faster hit the mark because it was the family story tie into the whole thing. And my brother was honestly, I think, just kind of seeking like, hey, like, who's on this shit? Why won't people talk about it? And why, when someone gets busted for it, why do they cry? They like knew what they were doing. Now they're in court and they're crying all over the place. And I think he just wanted to try to get to the bottom of people's obsession with being number one, whether it's, because in a lot of these sports, it is cheating. Like it's against the rules. So that brings up a lot of other stuff. But for me, I never participated in a sport where what I was doing was illegal. Performance enhancing drugs are not necessarily, they're illegal, period, but they're not for competition. You could decide to go into a drug tested federation if that's what you wanted to do. And the non-drug tested federations aren't called anything. They're just federations,
Yeah. Nsima, do you remember the first time, or at least how you came about watching Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
It was like in 2013 or 14 that I got to ST in 2015. So it was 2013 or 14 when I saw it. And I think that like in the past, I had a much more, I guess, juvenile view on, drug use and people who took steroids. I was like, that stuff's stupid. It's evil. It's unhealthy. I was one of those people who were just like, it's just like, I couldn't wrap my head positively around it just because, like, and I think the documentary did a very good job of kind of showing you that it's not like it has a stigma of being a cheater's thing. And for the longest time, everything that I watched up until that point made me feel like, yeah, guys that are just like kind of feel like they need to cheat, do that. Right. And after I watched that documentary, I think I was just like, it's not like that. Like it's not really like that. So I think that was the big thing that it kind of showed me. It didn't, I guess, yeah, I started having a much more negative view. It wasn't a moral. Exactly. It wasn't a moral thing anymore, because before that, I had a very moralistic view of that, and afterwards, I really didn't.
I think a key factor to keep in mind is that they're performance enhancing. So you kind of need to have a little something going on before you can enhance the performance of what it is that you have. And if you're enhancing the performance of like a whole lot of nothing, then it might not really result in anything that great. That's why, I usually tell people not to do it. I talk people out of it, quite a bit. And when they actually do decide that they really want to do it, I'll push them and say, hey, see what you can do. Like, do you really feel that stuck? Like, do you feel like you're going to kind of like look the same for the next 5 years, sort of, no matter what you do? Then maybe, you would be better off, looking into that. I ran into a guy the other day, and he said, I was walking to a coffee shop, and he's like, dude, it's like, what do you do? I was like, I lift weights, He's like, you're huge. And we got talking, and he's like, what do I need to do? He's like, I'm like 6'3", I'm like 190. He's like, I'm skinny. He's like, I need to fix this. And I said, you need to eat meat. I didn't start with like the steroid story, because, you need to lift weights, and you need to replenish your body, So we talked a little bit about lifting. Once I knew that he lifted, I was like, I think you need to probably eat a good amount of protein, and just the kind of the whole, nutrition spiel, and getting sleep, and just, 4 or 5 things that he, could easily implement. But yeah, you don't start out with steroids, and steroids don't, they could really help somebody become a champion, especially if they take it over top of somebody else who's not taking it. But again, you got to keep in mind, when they do this like Phil Heath documentary, that, it's not outing anybody. Everybody knows this already. All the competitors will be on as much different shit as they can within reason and sometimes without reason, to make themselves look the best they possibly can. And it's no discredit to Phil Heath. He's always looked amazing. And he'll continue to look amazing even when he, finally hangs it up at some point. But I don't know. I think it will be fun to watch, because there'll be a lot of the bodybuilders and stuff and all the people that we've seen over the years. So it should be at least exciting from that standpoint.
Yeah,
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I think this is another reason why when people think about or see steroids, it's immediately like, oh, scary, because like and I just like there are 2 shows that I saw recently, and there are some episodes where I think on an episode of this one show, the girl was like, oh, it's like, I think he's doing this, and it's similar to like when a bodybuilder takes steroids and gets roid rage. And then on another show, a guy got angry in the corner, and then one guy was like, roid rage. And I remember so many cartoons as a kid where like there would be an episode with like this really big, scary, hulking person that they were experimented on with drugs, and they got angry. So I think like there is still at least the vast part of the population has that thought when they think about steroids. They think about roid rage and anger. and rock music.
Yeah, and I can't remember. Somebody had pointed it out. It might have been Rogan, but it's like, oh, like I don't know, like the new Xbox is the old Xbox on steroids, or like the new Tesla whatever model is like a regular car on steroids. It's like, so we still use that term or whatever that statement.
Right.
We're trying to explain that something is like significantly better than the other version that's not on steroids. But when a person's on it, we look at it weird.